This episode of Bourbon on Ice, presented by your friend Frosty and your bartender Mike Whiskey, is brought to you by the Cape Media Center of Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The views and opinions expressed during this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of the Cape Media Center. Listener discretion is advised.
What do you mean I can't be the special guest star? I'm not here all that often. Oh, you've already pushed the button, haven't you? Great. Now it's forever saved that I'm whining. Fine. Roll music.
Welcome, listeners, to Bourbon on Ice.
Where we talk about everything nerdy, like gentlemen.
Join us every week for our local Cape Cod take on, well, everything.
Laugh, cry, be confused, and laugh some more.
I'm your friend Frosty.
And I'm your bartender, Mike Whiskey.
Stay tuned. You think they'll like the episode?
Oh, they'll definitely love it.
Welcome to another episode of Bourbon on Ice, where we discuss all things nerdy, like gentlemen. I am your friend Frosty.
And I'm your special guest star, Robare.
Our very whiny guest star.
So,
It's out there forever. You can't escape it.
You remember the TV show Lost in Space?
Dating yourself, but go ahead.
Very much. So,
I'm sorry. It was a low-hanging fruit.
I know. So, Jonathan Harris was on the show, and he wanted top billing in the credits. I think the producer was like, no, you can't, because, Mark Gardner and James West, I think his name is, they're the main guys, so they get the top billing. And Angela Cartwright, she's the big star, so if you're going to be anywhere, you're going to be after her. And he goes, well, if I can't be top billing, then I want to be listed as special guest star. And he was listed for every single episode.
Ouch.
As the special guest star. So I can be the special guest star of Bourbon on Ice in
Are very
perpetuity.
special to us.
You don't mean like Little Yellow School Bus special, right?
We're getting off this now. Welcome back, everyone. It has been an interesting couple of days. I'm just saying that without knowing what I'm talking about because, basically this is life. And if something hasn't blown up, fallen apart, or completely come apart, then is it really life?
Life. Don't talk to me about life.
Oh, gosh. Who are you channeling now?
Marvin, the paranoid android from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, my gosh. I have that in hardback. All the books in hardback, and it's right next to my nightstand. Well, it's on my nightstand. That says something about me.
Yeah.
So what brings you back from the Isle of Rhodes, Robare? I should just point out that we killed Whiskey and hid his body under the floorboards. Oh, right. We're not telling anyone that.
Don't tell anyone.
Yeah, Whiskey couldn't be with us today, so Robare graciously agreed to step in. But what brings you here?
So I'm here because I got a bone to pick with you, Frosty.
A bone?
Uh-huh. Back when we did the podcast for my fan fiction,
I don't recall that at all.
you were very mean to me.
Me? Mean? Why? Absolutely. Who am I kidding him? I was probably reveling in it. Probably sitting here stroking a cat. Oh, wait, I hate cats. Probably a Pomeranian.
Because I know you don't have the greatest opinion of fan fiction,
I do not.
but it's something I like to do, and I'm very proud of the fiction that I've written, knowing I'm probably not going to make any money on it.
No, you will not.
But there's a reason why I started in fan fiction, and it goes back a long time ago to the year of 1987.
1987.
Yeah, how old were you then?
Old enough.
No, you weren't. You were never old enough.
Kind of going along with that, yeah.
So my local PBS station at the time, Channel 57 in Springfield, did a pledge drive. And one of their prizes was to go to a mini convention at the station where they would have the Doctor Who trailer, which is fun, and they would have a doctor, Patrick Troughton, the second Doctor. I'm like, oh my God, I've got to go to this.
This sounds relatively nerdy.
It's Doctor Who. Hello. So,
Everyone, I think this is an installment of the Cape Cod Nerd Word.
oh my God, I am totally a nerd word right here.
The episode you're talking about was episode 33. We done ficked it up.
That's it.
And this is basically the Revenge of the Nerd.
That's right.
Huh. That sounds like it should be a movie somewhere.
Yeah.
Not that I could ever recall one of that ever being made. Continue.
Thank you. So just before this mini convention occurs, I get a postcard in the mail from Channel 57 saying, basically, hey, guess what? Patrick Troughton died at a convention in Georgia the week before. So you're not going to see him.
Oh, but that is a really good excuse.
It's a very good excuse.
As far as excuses go, that's pretty good.
Right. So instead, we're going to send over two companions. Janet Fielding, who played Tegan Javanka, one of my favorites, and Sarah Sutton, who played Nissa. She's okay. And I'm like, okay, I can deal with this. So while I'm at the mini convention,
Such a snob.
look, I know the companions that I like, and the others are like, they're okay. So while at the convention, there was a sign-up sheet for a brand new science fiction club. I'm like, yeah, sign me up, boom. And eventually, this club became the Knights of the White Guardian.
What is that?
I'm holding up a newsletter.
It looks like a church bulletin.
It looks like a church bulletin.
Is there a hymn inside?
There's lots of hymns and a few hers. But I'm bummed, thank
Walked
you.
into that one.
You sure did.
Ouch.
So, and I realized Knights of the White Guardian sounds like something else, but it's not. It's Doctor Who through and through, and other science fiction. So the club formed, started writing a newsletter, and then the club staff realized they had a problem. They couldn't write enough stuff to fill the newsletter, so they implored for the rest of the members to come up with something, anything to help fill the pages. Write an article, review a book, even write some fiction. And I said, oh, well, I could write some fiction. Boom.
The curse was unleashed.
Thus the curse was unleashed. With my fiction, Memoirs of a Time Lord, sort of.
Which is adorable.
So, Memoirs of a Time Lord was born, and it ran in a newsletter from May of 1987 until like December of 2002. Wow. That's a lot of fanfic.
That is a lot of nerdy fanfic.
It is. And mine wasn't the only fan fiction. One guy, he wrote like an original story called Log of the Somerset. It's just his own space adventure. Other people wrote Doctor Who fiction, and other people wrote even more
Doctor Who fiction.
More Doctor Who fiction. One guy even started his own sort of memoirs with the intent of us like meeting at some point and doing like crossover episodes. Luckily, that never happened because I don't think I could deal with that.
Writers, such prima donnas. Not that I would know.
Not that you would know at all. Yes.
Sorry, I was crying about something trivial and pointless.
You mean like your novel that hasn't landed anywhere yet?
You will die. I will kill you where you sit.
Yes. So I've written lots of fiction for the newsletter. I've compiled at least one fanzine with plenty of material for another couple. They take money to make, so I haven't done it yet. But as soon as I land that $10 million, you know it. Memoirs of a Time Lord Volumes 2 and 3 will be out.
You're planning on getting $10 million?
Planning, hoping.
Have I told you I find you extremely attractive?
You have. It's not going to get you anything.
Well then.
Not that attractive then.
Well then.
Yep. So that's basically where my fan fiction went. I enjoy writing fan fiction. My fiction is, as I've said before, it's a Mary Sue, where I put myself in the middle of the action. And I've acquired companions. One is a person that I know very well.
Mimi.
Yes. And the other is this guy, Steven, that I completely made up. But he's a gay man. And I wanted to put some gay in my story.
I just want to point out that nowadays gay characters are much more prevalent in science fiction, and I think we should all be very appreciative of that. There's a lot more GLBTQ plus. Did I miss any letters?
Not yet.
There's a lot more inclusion these days, and I really think we should be appreciative of that.
I'm very appreciative of that. However, unless you say, like in every other page, that the character is gay, it's something you're gonna forget. Something I might forget. And I found myself doing that a lot, of like writing reminders that, by the way, this is my gay character, just to let you know.
I just created a lesbian character for D&D, and I've never done that before, so do I have to like point that out every time we do stuff? I don't know what the rules are.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I swear, like every page, I have to make Steven go, "Oh, see that guy over there? He's hot."
We get it, Steven. You're gay.
And I'm like, okay, tick. I made the reference for this chapter. I can move on.
Sorry. It's just as far as problems go, that's trivial. How do I inform everyone again that my character is gay? Ugh.
I know. It's like I should be reminding people, that Mimi's a woman, by the way.
Also, we're in space.
Right. Because you see those things against the black background.
And there's time travel. So every single story should start out with, so my fabulous friend Mimi and I were in space time traveling in a really pretty box that was shaped kind of like an aspirin. That was my airplane.
Your airplane reference, yeah.
Sorry, I actually used the F word.
Just like a big Tylenol.
Thank you. I knew. If anyone gets that reference, good. If you don't, then you're far too young for this podcast.
Yeah. So
I'm sitting here across this table thinking of ways to mock you relentlessly, and all I can say is like, wow, those are really nice looking. He has a stack of like, what, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these newsletters. Can you pass me one?
absolutely.
I want to take a look at this thing. Oh, wow. Okay, this says the Gallifreyan Gazette, From Below the Citadel,
and
episode 205 in October, volume 18.01.
So the club was started by a brother and a sister from Chicopee, Massachusetts.
Yay, Chicopee.
Who didn't know about the rest of the world. So when we made our newsletter, the Gallifreyan Gazette, we didn't realize that there was already another club with the Gallifreyan Gazette as their newsletter. So we had to make ours the Gallifreyan Gazette, From Below the Citadel.
There's a lot of pictures in this. This is actually kind of well made. There's colored pictures and lots of... That's odd. I'm looking at Christopher Reeve. Goodbye, Chris. You will be truly missed. Aww. United Fan Con, a personal view.
United Fan Con, yes. There used to be a sci-fi convention in Springfield put on by a club, not in Western Mass, but from Boston area, called the United States branch of UNIT. And they put on this convention with at least one Doctor Who guest, at least one member from the Monkees, at least it always seemed to be, and various Star Trek and other TV shows, characters.
There is a review here. World Cinema, Shaun of the Dead, 2004. Review by Ken of the Dead.
Yeah.
A romantic comedy with zombies. This thing takes up 2 pages. That's great. That's absolutely great.
Oh, so that picture that you saw with me and the Dalek.
Yeah.
That brought us together.
Yeah.
That was taken at United Fan Con.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. The Dalek, just to let you know.
Scary robots.
I beg your pardon?
There's scary robots in here.
Dalek? Oh, the scary robots?
No, the ones from iRobot. I'm looking at one right now. It's on the second to last page. It's leering at me, and I kind of want to burn this thing.
Well, no, don't do that.
I won't.
Don't burn my newsletters.
I won't.
So the Dalek that you saw in the picture was not actually a prop from the TV show. A guy in Maine built it himself.
Oh, why? Someone has the time on their hands to...
And the skill. And somehow got all the measurements because it was, it was right.
Honey, what are you doing out there? Please tell me that you're working on the car. No, honey, I'm building a space robot.
Nothing, honey. I'm not doing anything. Exterminate! Ah!
And they say traditional marriages are doomed to fail. Cool Robots. Creepy Mechanical Men by Kenneth Parker.
Kenneth Parker, when he got married, the music when he arrived at the reception was Space 1999 theme music.
Robots can be a dilemma, as on one hand, they are very helpful and can do things humans cannot, while on the other hand, they can be dangerous. One of the best examples of this is from the Doctor Who episode, The Robots of Death.
Oh, that's a lovely episode.
Here we have robots that are made of metal but mimic human facial features. They are really frightening to look at.
They are.
Their stoic faces and smooth movement can be creepy. They are helpful and perform many tasks, and the humans cannot conceive that robots could harm humans. Human intervention turns many of the robots bad, and they go on a killing spree. This in its and of itself is interesting, but it is the reactions of the human characters that drive the point home. We have the fearless warrior savage Leela, who will take on all kinds of creatures, but going up against robots is something new. The robots give off no body language. There is nothing living coming from them. Chief Mover Poole suspects the robots are being reprogrammed, but he develops robophobia, the fear of robots. Poole goes into shock when he sees that robots can kill.
Please do not throw hands at me.
Wow.
The quote from one of the robots.
A society of robots can be a frightening thought. In sci-fi, a robot society is generally not a good thing for humans. The robotic race of Cylons are out to hunt down the humans, and there's actually a picture of a Cylon here. The idea of purging imperfect races or creating an ideal race of robots is an obvious allegory for the Nazi race. To create a race that thinks and even looks alike is the goal. I, Robot brought the horror of robot back to the minds of the 2004 movie audiences. The fact that these societies become so comfortable with robots, the thought that one or all could turn on their masters is not even a reasonable thought. Again, as with robots of death, it is a fear or distrust of robots that one or more individuals has to see the writing on the wall. And you guys just get to sit around and write this stuff?
Yep.
This is actually I'm actually a little envious. Wow, that's nerdy, but fun.
It is. We would go away on our own spaces and write stuff, and then send it in to the editor, and he would just throw it all together with pictures. I believe Ken Parker was the editor for this newsletter, and he did a bang-up job of getting the stuff out and making it look really, really good, as opposed to this one.
Whoa.
I'm showing Frosty one of the first newsletters from May of 1988, compared to the one that he just looked at, which is October of something.
I think it was 2004.
It says so. Yeah, 2004. Thank you. So it's a heck of a difference.
One's got pretty color pictures. The other has some kind of drawings on it.
So where the other one says Gallifreyan, somewhere in the beginning, the I got dropped. So we had a typo on our newsletter for months, and nobody caught on. And then at one point we had like a really cool logo.
Oh, that's a nice logo.
Yeah. And you see how it emphasizes the knights, and then the White Guardian it's very small. So we knew that the name had some possible negative connotation. So rather than change the name, we simply chose to emphasize the knights and then just kind of ignore the rest of it. And the logo reflects that.
That's a very good strategy.
It's a very nice logo, too.
I have to ask, though.
Yep.
You've said that you've written for this.
I have.
Where's your stuff? I want to hear your stuff. As a matter of fact, I'm challenging you right now. Find a story, and you read it for us.
All right, then. So, once upon a time...
Oh, you're actually going to do this. I was hoping that you would chicken out and, hide under the table. Okay, so we are doing this.
The Cape Media Center, located in Dennisport, Cape Cod, Massachusetts, is a non-profit community media center and the public access TV station for the towns of Barnstable, Yarmouth, Dennis, Harwich, and Chatham. Our mission is to build community through media, enhance democratic communication, and facilitate free expression by providing these towns with a state-of-the-art media resource center. Members can become trained in our video and audio equipment and produce their own media content. Membership includes training classes, access to our field equipment, studios and facility, as well as airtime. Podcasters and music producers can share their content on our website. For more information, visit capemedia.org.
This episode of Bourbon on Ice is brought to you by Market Street Bookshop in Mashpee Commons, located at 31 Market Street, Mashpee, Massachusetts. Embrace diversity and find support for local authors and artists at the Market Street Bookshop, where your favorite new read is just a browse away. For more information, give them a call at 508-539-6985.
And now, from the mind of Robare, Something Twisted. Presented by Bourbon on Ice. Ride the Walrus.
Thank you.
That's a meta reference.
Gotcha.
I'll pipe down.
Thank you. So, in the Doctor Who magazine, They did their own little bit of fan fiction called Brief Encounters. When the Knights did a Batman-specific newsletter, I wrote a little story called Encounter with Briefs. And this is how it goes. Mimi, our new companion Steven, and I just materialized on a busy street corner. This particular city was rather dismal and dark, but seemed to have a fun side to it. I mentioned this possibility to Mimi, who only responded with a withering look. "Rob, I think even New York City ranks higher on looks and personality than this place," she remarked. "Indeed," agreed Steven, "and I thought the old SF looked bad." "SF?" I asked. Steven looked wistful and sighed. "Yes, SF as in San Francisco, where you lifted me from." "How long do I have to keep apologizing for that?" I defended myself. "You know that it wasn't our fault that you were caught up in Zek Solar's plans." Previous adventure.
Zek Solar.
Zek Solar is a Time Lord, evil Time Lord that I made up.
Gotcha.
That Rob had to fight. "Oh, I don't blame you. It's just that I get so homesick when I see someone robbing a bank." Mimi and I were instantly alerted. "What? Where?" Steven pointed to a large cloud of smoke lifting from a large building about a block away. "Come on, Mimi," I said. "Maybe we can help." I took off at a tear down the street. I heard Mimi holler my name, but I would not be deterred from doing my good deed this millennium. Mimi and Steven caught up to me while I was watching from behind a corner. "What's the problem, Mimi? It's not like we haven't done this before." "Rob, we had K9 before. If you recall, we left him on that planet to help with the war efforts." I listed the name of a planet, but it's got parentheses and brackets and strange letters. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. I looked at him.
Is it like X-rated or is it just weird?
It's XXED parentheses O parentheses YJ bracket DE close bracket.
Yeah, don't pronounce that.
Exactly.
Carry on.
Thank you. "So we call off the war efforts, right?" Steven asked hopefully. I looked at him. "Some friend of Dorothy you are, Mary."
So there's the reminder that the character is gay. You did it. You did it perfectly. Congratulations.
In a really embarrassing way. This is one of those where you go, "Oh, God, I can't believe I wrote that." I thought I was being clever, too.
That's beautiful.
There's got to be a way. Just then, a large black car pulled up. This car had 3 large fins protruding from the rear. The roof opened and 2 figures leaped out. The obvious leader of the pair was dressed in a tight black rubber suit in the stylings of a bat, while the younger of the two was dressed in a similar style but more colorful, and the muscles were obviously from the body underneath as opposed to a part of the costume. The pair swept into the bank. Seconds later, there was a commotion, and the tied-prone bodies of the bank robbers bounced out of the destroyed bank. The muscular pair swept out just as quickly and headed back towards their vehicle. Mimi, Steven, and I had been admiring the car since the dynamic pair arrived. Now they found themselves confronting the mysterious duo. The man in black strode up to me while the other sized up Mimi and Steven. Nice car," I stammered. "You know, we were going to help out, but you seem to have things under control." The man in black swung around to see Mimi. "Nice outfit," was all she could say. "Who are you?" The man replied in a voice as soft as silky as the outfit he was wearing was not. Yeah.
I was trying to hold that in.
"I'm Batman." Mimi swallowed.
Oh.
"What?"
Oh, now this makes sense. Oh. Okay. Oh, now I'm getting this.
Mimi swallowed. "Hi, Batman." I could see that Batman figured out we were no trouble, because we weren't, and in some way really didn't belong to this area. Somehow, he also knew we didn't belong to the time period either. It was rather eerie how he might have figured that out. To ease Mimi's discomfort, Batman leaned forward and gave Mimi a peck on the cheek. Mimi swooned a bit and landed on the car. A loud alarm sounded and Mimi bounced off. Batman grasped the device and switched off the alarm. "And I'm Robin," the other person said. "You don't suppose..." Mimi mimicked the kiss Batman gave Mimi. Robin swung around on Steven. "Robin!" barked Batman. "Be discreet." Robin released himself from his defensive pose, but his muscles remained as taut as before. I'm sorry, chum, but my toast isn't buttered that side up. Which is kind of a Red Dwarf quote, actually. The voice alone sent Stephen into an unconscious state. Batman turned around to tell me something. I felt sure it was vitally important, but the world all around me started shaking in a weird way. I felt the shaking, but no one else did, and then we returned to the current adventure that I kind of interrupted myself in.
Keep going, I want to hear this.
I woke to Mimi shaking me. She must have seen me withdraw into myself. What happened, she asked. I don't know, somehow I received a message from myself from the future. Was Alex there? I shook my head. Well, there's hope for the future then. Mimi considered this. Which means we have a future and we'll survive this problem? Not necessarily, Mimi. Futures are fluid, and just because I saw one doesn't mean we'll actually get to it. Now, where was I? That guy just ordered the warehouse to destroy your TARDIS in K9. Wah, wah. And that's the end.
Bravo. Wait, hang on. I have something for this. Oh, damn, sorry. I thought that was the applause, not the laugh.
Yeah.
Wait, hang on. There we go.
Yes.
I'm still roiling over the Dorothy line.
Honestly, it's one of those times I thought sure I was being really clever, and then just reading it now I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I did that.
My parents have, like, I said this last time we discussed fanfic. My parents keep bringing stuff to me like, oh hey, we found this. You wrote this years ago. I'm like, oh good. Let me light up a pyre. And they're like, oh, don't you want it? You must have thought it was so good back then. Yes, back then.
There was one story I wrote, that Zig Ziglar story that the passage reference.
Yeah.
So Zig Ziglar, like, zaps Rob's TARDIS with some energy beam, and the TARDIS splits apart into 3 pieces, and they all go, like, sailing down. So everybody gets knocked out. Then they wake up, look outside, and go, well, we seem to be doing okay. And Mimi goes, wow, look at those people outside. They don't look too happy that we're here. And Rob goes, well, we didn't just materialize like we normally do. This time we actually dropped out of the sky. And that sort of thing is bound to make the natives a bit edgy. And for some reason, that bit edgy line I thought was the funniest thing I had ever written in my life. And I was on the floor rolling around laughing hysterically over that one stupid line.
Well, it's all about delivery. I could totally see that being delivered and just killing people.
And, you know, like we've seen like the TARDIS do many times before in the New Who, where it just like boom and lands on the ground. But at the time, that was almost unheard of.
I'm just remembering when Idris sees the living embodiment of the TARDIS in The Doctor's Wife. I think that was season 6, new season 6. She, very bluntly, she asks the Doctor, which one is the pretty one?
Right.
And, you know, that's an innocuous line. But when you take the context and slap it on top of it, how she's referring to either Rory or Amy, and they're flying a hunk of a TARDIS while they're being pursued by murderous Ood, it's hysterical. So,
yes.
Yeah, I could totally see that line working. Just because a line on its own doesn't make you laugh, there's ways that it can be presented. As an author, as a novelist and playwright, yes, I do agree. Ooh, what's that one with a 200 on the front?
Oh, this is this must be the 200th newsletter.
Do you have any pictures of you in these? He's looking.
I don't think so, because this would be all about the newsletter and stuff. No, there's. Oh, look it. There's a reprint of the original newsletter, which happens to be this one.
Oh, it's my gosh! It's like looking in a mirror.
Shut up.
Oh, hang on. Is that a word search?
Yes, it is, and you can't.
Ooh.
And you can't do it.
But
I don't care.
But
We must preserve the original state of these newsletters by not dickering in them.
the words are warriors, Cruz, Nathan, Algren, Japanese, Katsumoto, Nobutada, Taka, Magorjiro. Okay, we're getting into weird territory here.
Yes, you are.
I'm looking through to find the thing that you wrote. It's got to be in here somewhere.
I don't know if I wrote anything because this is after the memoirs was done. I think. I'm pretty sure. Unless it said I wrote something, in which case I probably reviewed something. I don't know what, because my memory is terrible.
That does happen. Oh, look, there's a picture of Viggo Mortensen.
Who?
Aragorn.
Oh.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah, Lord of the Rings. That's all like way up here.
Wow. This is impressive. I do say that now. Oh, you have an obituary section.
Oh.
You mentioned Philip Locke, Sean Sutton, and Richard Biggs from Babylon 5.
Oh.
Wow.
Wow.
Do you have anything else that you wrote?
I do.
Let me see. Let's hear it. Let's look.
So this is the very first iteration of Memoirs of a Time Lord from May of 1988.
The before time.
The before time.
Well, not entirely, but go ahead.
Memoirs of a Time Lord. Gosh, that sounds awfully rich and famous, which I'm not. Well, everyone seemed really interested in the travels of the Doctor, so I'm jumping on the bandwagon and telling everyone about my travels, and I bet they're more interesting than his. My name? Good question. Just call me Rob. Everyone else does. I was one of the first humans from Earth to be selected to join the Pridonian Academy at Gallifrey. I learned all sorts of stuff. Temporal theory, fifth dimensional third degree, complex mathematics, and I even took an elective on block transfer computations. Start with an Apple, end up with an IBM. Although I liked it there, the Doctor was right. Those classes were long and instructed by monotonous old sticks. I graduated Beta Sigma Alpha. Not bad. Much as life on Gallifrey was new and different, I yearned for something even more challenging. So I wondered if I could steal a TARDIS. Shut up.
No, I will not. I will not.
You mentioned that the last time. How much of an original concept that was.
Well, considering when this came out, it was. It's just they then came back around.
Well, you know, at the time I wrote this, we knew the Doctor stole a TARDIS. We knew the Ronnie stole a TARDIS. We know the Master stole a TARDIS.
Just no one watch these things. I mean, do they just like lying around there with the keys in the ignition, running?
It's weird. You're right. And you know, we had the meddling monk with a TARDIS, and then we had Drax, who might have had a TARDIS at some point. So, you know, there's no shortage of...
It's only a device that can literally rip a hole in the universe and rewrite history as we know it. I mean, sure, let's just leave them lying around.
And it's not like that's never happened before. Cue the next-door neighbors of Gallifrey. Let's see. All right. Heading straight for the TARDIS storehouse, I noticed one standing right in front of the building with the keys in the lock. Making sure no one was about, I opened the door and slipped inside. Despite all that we students were told, the sensation of crossing dimension must be experienced to understand, if fully. Although I'll probably get used to it with practice. Yes, I still want to go through with it. The interior of my TARDIS was a gleaming white room with square columns at the corners. The walls had bright roundels arranged in hexagonal patterns, and the scanner screen had a design surrounding it. I knew right off it was a Type 40. The console looked out of place. It was round with round bumps around the edge, and the time rotor was a thin rod with two rings arranged like a gyroscope. The controls were touch activated. Some not even that. I hate touch controls! Sorry about that. I feel better.
I'm glad he got it off his chest.
On one wall, a sign read, "Museum piece do not use." That means that elsewhere on board there must be other consoles, hopefully with push buttons. With this new insight, I decided that I would attempt to travel in time and space, and with the console of my choice. I found one in the bedroom with a wedding cake time rotor, one with 3 neon tubes in the linen closet, and in the bathroom one old timer which rotated within itself as the whole rotor rose and fell. I opted for the wedding cake time rotor. I also have a weakness for visual display units. The nice thing about these consoles, they simply plug into the floor for use. Yes, this would be plug and play before I knew there was such a thing as plug and play.
Not only are the keys in it, it's retro.
Yep. Since others wouldn't want me messing about with the museum TARDIS, I closed and licked the door. I wrote locked, but so back in the day, we didn't have computers. Not everybody had computers, so I couldn't put in a disk. So whatever I sent to them, they had to retype it. And this one time, they typoed it. So, and I mentioned it to them years later, said, you know, my first episode of Memoirs, you had me closing and licking the door. And they go, no. And I show them. They're like, oh, whoops. Whoops, indeed. I closed and licked the door. The first time I read it when I actually got the newsletter, I'm like, ha, wait, what? That's not what I said.
But it is what it came out as.
Yep.
That's great.
Yes.
I mean, for me.
Uh-huh. Took me long enough to find the spot. The Time Lords must have teleported the consoles into their respective rooms because they were all in one piece, which meant that I would have two of them apart to switch places. Taking everything apart for transfer was hard work, must work the body as well as the mind, but both consoles' places were replaced, and when I had the new one in place, I stopped to give it a good look for any structural damage. Everything appeared to be in order, so I switched on. The power felt was incredible. Type 40s were never supposed to feel like this. Hey, a working chameleon circuit! Quite a rarity in such an old model, and it's programmable. Somebody souped up this one real good, perhaps for the museum. Using the telepathic circuits, I looked in the matrix and saw that this unit was not registered and probably would not be missed by anyone. Strange that, but I'm not going to argue. I started thinking, now that I've made this thing my own, must get rid of that sign, I should start exploring the universe like I planned. Think of it. Thousands of inhabited planets, eons of time, countless civilizations, maybe even right some wrongs, and I would have to visit the Eye of Orion. However, the worst that could happen is I get blown out of time and space for taking the TARDIS, that's all. I set the coordinates for outer space and yield place, and hoped for the best. I pulled the power lever, put her in drive, and held my breath.
I'm in awe. The adventures of Rob the Time Lord.
Yep.
Or, TARDIS thief. Have just begun.
TARDIS thief, yeah.
That was great. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm actually very appreciative of that. It's just I can't get over the whole lick the door thing.
Lick the door. Bane of my existence, licking the damn door.
Can we frame that? Like put a ring around that exact... Oh my God.
I'm surprised nobody's done it already.
Sorry to keep you boys waiting. Here's your food.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Can I get you anything else, or are you all set?
We're all set, I think. Thank you.
Enjoy.
Hey, Whiskey?
Yeah, Frosty?
Is it just me or is the food bad?
No, it's not just you. This burger's not too great either.
How's everything, boys?
Oh, wonderful.
Good, food's great.
Great. I'll be back to check on you in a bit.
Terrible food.
You know what, though, Frosty?
What's that?
It'd make a great location for a restaurant.
You should do this again.
Absolutely.
You should do this again.
I mean, I showed you the stack. I mean, there's no shortage of suspects. I mean, of chapters to choose from.
Suspects. Sorry, but over these years, who knows what you've done?
I shudder to think of, yeah. So when I did my fanzine and that first chapter went in it, I was sure to correct the typo. Or rather, I just went with the file that I had, which had the word spelled correctly. And, even in the days of computers, if they had somehow gotten the word wrong, spell check would never kick it out because it was still a legit word.
I remember that was such a big thing for me when I started using that and they first introduced spell check. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's like a red line underneath this word. Why? What does it mean? The computer is reading with me. The computer wants me to succeed.
And the computer knows when you effed up.
Yeah, that it also knows.
The internet, away!
You're right. To the internet. Away! Okay, I just found it. It was Sierra Online released a series of games called Space Quest from 1986 to 1995.
Yep.
There's a reason I like them so much. And it's all about a terrible space janitor. Not a space pilot or a space cop or a space detective. He's a space janitor who winds up in one disaster after another, inadvertently saving the world, the universe, existence, who knows. But his name was Roger Wilco.
That's right, yep.
And what was it that he was always looking for? Hang on, that's got to be... there it is. He's campaigning through the galaxy for truth, justice, and really clean floors.
That's right.
All I know is that, the journeys would start out so innocuous, and then bam, he'd be on the planet of latex dominatrixes. And I'm like, this is a kid's game? This is weird.
So, I suppose at some point I'll have to bring a different sort of memoirs and possibly read a couple of chapters. There was a video game, a computer game called The Leather Goddesses of Phobos.
What?
And I believe, that's right, it was a text adventure game. Lots of typing, I believe. And you would either be Trent or, I forget what the female name was, but it would ask you what gender you were.
Barbarella?
No. Started with a T and I can't remember what it is. But at the beginning of the game, it would ask for your gender. And if you said male, it gave you Trent. And if you picked female, it would, I forget the name. And then basically you played the game as that character. And I can never finish the game because it required the manual and, well...
You were a filthy, dirty pirate.
Well, not deliberately. Somebody handed it to me and said, here, try this. And I made a copy. So yes, then I was a pirate. So.
They had some very clever ways with those early games to keep you from succeeding, to keep you from pirating it.
Yes.
Like another Sierra online game that I'm remembering was the EcoQuest series. And right in the beginning of the first game of EcoQuest, you could not leave the room unless you put in the password on a door. Where was this password? Why, it was in the instruction manual that came with the game.
Yep.
It was sneaky, but that's how they got you.
You've mentioned 2 Sierra games, and you're forgetting the most important one.
Dr. Brain?
No! Leisure Suit Larry in the Land of the Lounge Lizards!
I was totally going for King's Quest, but sure.
Leisure Suit Larry.
That freaky pervert.
Yes! It's a modern game. That's what I loved about it. It was modern.
Don't forget Willie Beamish. I modeled my life after that guy.
I don't know Willie Beamish.
Oh my gosh, we have more to talk about.
Oh no. But Leisure Suit Larry, the first game, the whole point of it is to score with as many women. All right, granted, that wasn't my thing, but apart from that gender, I could, he would get with a hooker, and then he got tied up by a woman, and then something else happened in a hot tub, maybe, and then finally he lands the woman of his dreams, which is great until the next game got released.
Wow, we endured some outstandingly awful stuff, yes. And I'm so glad for our childhoods.
But the very last memoirs that appeared in the newsletter is The Leather Gods of Phobos.
Oh, you have got to find that for me next time. I want you to come up with one so we can read it. We'll get whiskey, and all 3 of us will sit here and read one of your new adventures or something.
Oh, it's like, oh my God, I could be Rob, you could be Mimi, he could be Steven.
Why do I get to be Mimi?
Because Mimi is Mimi's about as good as Rob. Because Mimi's really smart. Somewhere along the way, Rob teaches Mimi how to fly the TARDIS.
Okay, flattery aside, I'm still not sold. You will have to create a new character with a backstory worthy of Frosty, something like the name Frosty.
What, you want to be K9?
I hate you so much.
You could be the toaster with attitude.
Thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been an interesting episode of Bourbon on Ice. I am your friend Frosty.
I'm your special guest star in perpetuity, Robare.
And as always,
have a cold one on us. See, I get it right.
You were going to make me a toaster.
No, that's K9. He's a toaster with attitude.
Oh, my gosh.
This podcast was recorded at and produced by Cape Media Center on Cape Cod, Massachusetts by podcasting duo Mike Whiskey and your friend Frosty. All music and sound credits go to soundstripe.com. Special thanks to Jamie Horton, Emily Tulloch, Gabrielle Rawson. For more information on Bourbon on Ice, visit our social media page at twitter.com/whiskeyfrosty. For more information on Cape Media Center, visit capemedia.org. For more listening options and a variety of podcasting entertainment, visit our hosts at buzzsprout.com and capemediacenter.org.